Hello everyone, welcome to PMF IAS Foundation Course Orientation class. I am Akshay Vrat and I am taking the orientation for the subject of Environment and Ecology. Welcome all of you to PMF IAS. Now, why we are taking it this we have taken this initiative today, because what is the better day than 5th of June itself, right? 5th of June itself is the World Environment Day, and when it is the World Environment Day, there is no better day to start the orientation for the subject of ecology. Now guys, all of you understand, if you are preparing for civil services exams, environment ecology has played an important role in clearing the prelims. It has gained its own status as a separate, as an individual important subject, covering almost around 15% of the GS paper 1. Now, I am Akshay Vrat. I am a faculty for Environment and Science and Technology. I am going to take up the orientation session for the subject of environment. Let us start. So, before I talk about each and every area of discussion, let me just introduce you what are going to be the topics that I am going to consider in today's class. I am going to talk about why the subject of environment UPSC wants us to study. What is so special about the subject? See, when you talk about UPSC, it is all about administrative services, police services, revenue services. These are the main three popular services, foreign services, right? We never see any Indian environmental services. By the way, that is also one of the recommendations, but we don't see any environmental service. As of now, we don't see any of them. But why is the need, why there is a need for studying ecology environment for the UPSC preparations? Now, one reason for that is simply because Indian Forest Services and the Civil Service Exams prelims have been merged together. So there is a separate importance for the subject of environment, considering the Indian Forest Services precisely. Secondly, there is also there is also a massive upgrade in terms of news, in terms of the overall attention, and also in terms of the overall popularity of the domain of environment. I hope all of you understand that we all are victims of climate change. We all are eyewitnesses of climate change. There is no doubt that I don't think there is either any one of us today who would not be aware that there is a global climate change going on. There is an average increase in temperature happening. There is global warming happening. So this is definitely one area which cannot be ignored anymore. And UPSC has rightly put up environment and ecology as a separate subject from the year 2013 onwards. It has already been almost 14 years where they have almost 13 years, where they have already asked questions related to the subject of environment. So we'll first talk about why UPSC wants us to study environment. Secondly, we'll talk about what is the importance of this subject in the civil service exams. Thirdly, we'll talk about why this course, the course at PMF IAS, is right for you, is the right course that any student who is aspiring to become a civil servant today, it is the right destination, the right course that they can enroll for. And next, we'll be talking about what to expect from this course. What are going to be the advantages, what are going to be the benefits that each and every student would have if you join the course at PMF. And lastly, I'll take the questions from the students. I'll take the questions from the entire panel. Whatever questions you have, I'll be happy to answer them. Let us start. Let us start with the first point. The first area is why environment ecology. What is the importance of the subject of environment ecology for the civil services exams? Like I already mentioned, since 2013, environment ecology was added in the overall syllabus of the UPSC exam. It is not only there in the prelims but also having its own status in mains exam as well. So it is part of the UPSC syllabus. That is the first reason why UPSC wants us to study. But try to understand these things, guys. Try to understand all the developments happening. Like, just to give you a small input which will make you realize how important is the subject of environment today. If you go look at the G20 summit, all of you must have heard that in the year 2023, India hosted the G20 summit. We were the G20 president. We were the G20 chairman, right? When India hosted the G20 summit in 2023, if you notice the total number of conferences that happened between the G20 nations, they were somewhere around 10 to 11, considering some sources say 11, some sources say 10. around 10 to 11 meetings were held on various agendas, various areas of G20. But you'll be surprised to know, out of these 10 to 11 conferences that happened at various platforms, I'm talking about the ministerial conferences. There was many conferences that happened at various executive levels, but at ministerial level, there were almost 10 to 11 conferences, and out of those 10 to 11 conferences, nearly 4 of them were related directly or indirectly to environment. How can one ignore such an important agenda of discussions where the greatest, the most powerful nations of the world are coming together and talking about? How can anyone dare to ignore a subject like that? So UPSC in 2013 has rightly put up the subject of environment in its syllabus. Then since 2013 itself, if you look at the prelims exam, if you look at the preliminary exam, you know that we have the preliminary exam not only for the civil services now, but it is also for the Indian Forest Services. So if you want to qualify the forest services as well, ecology environment, having some basic understanding of ecology environment becomes highly necessary if you want to qualify the forest services as well. So this also adds on to the importance of the subject of environment. Then thirdly, why ecology environment? Look at all the international initiatives, like I just mentioned in the international relation part, G20. Look at all the news that is being made of late. You all have heard of news that genetically engineered rice has been developed by India. India is the first country to make genetically engineered rice. What is going to be the environmental impact of biotechnology? What is going to be the environmental impact of introducing such innovations? Don't you think this should naturally comes up in any person's mind who has a slight understanding of public issues? So if you talk about the major news, you will always see environment making up some or the other important news, important headlines. Often it happens. When you talk about the various international initiatives, you must have heard of international initiatives. You must have heard of United Nations Environment Program. It often comes in the news. You must have heard of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Every year, all the countries in the world are coming together, talking about only one agenda: how we can mitigate the climate change, how we can mitigate and reverse the climate change happening around us. You all must have heard of United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Almost every 2 to 3 years, all the countries of the world come together to talk about the diversity loss, the biodiversity that is being threatened, how we can reverse this. You all must have heard of various initiatives, various monetary incentives given for those countries who have recovered their standing forest, for those countries who have been able to recover their biodiversity that is being lost. So there is no doubt that when you talk about the most popular issues of today's time, environment, ecology, these are the areas that cannot be ignored. UPSC have rightly asked us to study the subject of environment because the future cannot be built without considering the ecological impact of development. So far we have only talked about development. It is the time to talk about sustainable development. You must have seen sustainable development as a term itself has been popularized so many times. If you just scan through the publications published by the various ministries, they often talk about environmental impact of their work, their businesses. You must have heard that there is something called environmental consultants that are now being hired by private sector, government sector organizations, which simply assess how are their businesses affecting the environment. So when environment is itself catching up so many eyes in the daily news affairs, how can UPSC ignore? So there is no doubt that environment ecology has become one of the most important. In fact, I have no shame in saying that if this is the most important topic for clearing civil services. This is actually the most important topic for clearing services. You know why? If I talk about the importance of this subject in the exam, just have a look that how much of this exam or how much of these questions have been asked so far ever since its inception in 2013. In 2013, when the subject was launched, there were 17 questions on environment. 17 questions were there just on environment. 17 questions. And since then, look at this: 2014, 18 questions. 2015, 11 questions. 2016, 18 again, then 15, then 13, then 11, then 10. 10 is, this is the only time when there were less questions on environment. The reason was in 2020 was the COVID year, and somehow most of the questions were overshadowed by biology. COVID related questions were there, right? So there were still a lot of, you can say, a lot of overlapping between biology and biological sciences, biotechnology with that of environment. So let's keep ourselves in a slightly humbled position of 10 questions. 2021, 17 questions were there. 2022, 14. 2023, 14 again. 2024, 15 questions. And this year, there were 16 questions. Again, one or two questions can overlap, because some questions I may consider that as environment, somebody else may consider them as geography, somebody else may consider them as science and tech, but I'm considering those as environment. There are 16 questions that can be directly sourced from environment. And if you take the average, look at the average, it is 14.53 by the way. So 14.5, that means on an average you can expect 14 to 15 questions every year in the prelims from the subject of environment. Can anyone even think of ignoring the subject? It has gained more weightage than many other conventional subjects today. Even when you talk about the mains examinations, although in mains exam I'm accepting that in the mains exam ecology and environment may not have a very high weightage, but in the mains exam also you can still expect almost two questions approximately. Two questions approximately are always directly sourced from environment. Although if you look at the 2023 mains, you can actually see some more questions that were related to IR, but somehow indirectly related to environment, right? So you will find a lot of mix and match of environment. And remember guys, when you talk about mains examination, in a mains examination there is no question that comes solely from the subject of environment, no question comes solely from the subject of science, no questions come solely from the subject of economy. By the way, let me tell you, environment is the part of GS paper 3. It is the part of GS paper 3, which also combines with science, economy, international relations. So you will find a lot of questions. You will find a lot of questions in the area of economy that may have environmental dimension attached to it. You may have some questions in the area of science that may have environmental dimension. Of course, geography comes in the domain. Geography to aata hai environment ke saath hai. So you can easily expect geography having an environmental dimension. In fact, guys, sometime Indian society in paper 1, you can actually have a link between environment and society also. So environment and ecology gives you not only a horizon of answering questions in the prelims, but it also gives you a very strong dimension of answering questions in the mains, where you can easily pick up one or the other important dimensions from any subject, whether it is IR, whether it is science, whether it is a geography or even economy. You can obviously have environmental dimensions. So this becomes a subject that cannot be ignored. It becomes an important subject that one has to give, one has to delve in depth and also understand the subject in that much, with that much maturity that you are able to understand and answer UPSC questions. I believe I have been able to convince you guys that how important the subject of environment is for the exam of UPSC. Let's look at the syllabus, what UPSC has asked us to prepare. Now, by the way, let me tell you, although I've been talking about the importance of environment and ecology, but let me tell you one thing, this is also one of those subjects where UPSC have mentioned this, that you do not have to have specialized understanding of the subject. That means whatever can be understood by general public, that should be enough to prepare for civil services when you're talking about the subject of environment and ecology. So in the prelims, it's only talk about general issues on environment and ecology. You don't require to have specialized understanding of these issues. If you have, well and good, but it is not needed as such. Then biodiversity, climate change and sustainable development. These are the 4 areas which UPSC itself has mentioned as the syllabus in the preliminary exam. When you talk about the GS paper 3, like I mentioned in the mains, you have the topics of biodiversity, environment, conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, environment impact assessment. All these are important areas which are part of the GS paper 3, that is the mains. So when you talk about prelims and mains related questions, you can easily consider this particular part of the syllabus. Now, this is what is the syllabus that UPSC has prescribed. This is the syllabus that has been prescribed to us. But like we all know, UPSC have a certain level of unpredictability. For environment also, they have carried their entire legacy of asking unpredictable questions. So when it comes to environment, this is the prescribed syllabus of UPSC. But if you compare it with the kind of questions, there is obviously an implied syllabus, the syllabus that we have been able to understand from the various questions that they have asked in the past 10-12 years, right? So I have been able to find that when UPSC talks about the subjects or the questions of environment, they mainly focus on 5 themes. There are typically 5 themes that UPSC likes to ask. Let us see what are those 5 themes. So when you talk about the first theme, that is the theme of issues. Like it also mentions in the syllabus itself, the various issues related to environment. So what kind of questions you can expect in the issues? So we have a lot of environmental issues, like climate change is one issue. I hope this is visible, I believe. Climate change, it is one issue, right? Then we have, just one second, let me just keep auditing the class here also, so that I know that that students are able to understand. So first is climate change. Then another issue could be the issue of pollution. I believe all of you guys are able to understand. Then another issue could be loss of biodiversity. We are losing our biodiversity. We are losing plants and animals every now and then. In fact, guys, according to a certain data, by the time this orientation would be over, there could be some species that have been lost from Earth already, right? So pollution, loss of biodiversity, climate change. Then there are also issues related to environmental justice. You guys, all of you know that there are certain communities in our society which are still living a life which is very close to the environment. There are a lot of communities living in the forest. We call them forest dwelling communities. Their rights are often put in danger whenever we talk about development. So environmental justice, this also becomes an important issue when you talk about environmental issues. So these are some of the issues: climate change, pollution. When I talk about pollution, you understand plastic pollution, e-waste pollution, all of them would be a part of this, right? So pollution in itself has a very wide scope of definitions that we can put under pollution. So all these issues are part of the themes, are part of one of the theme of the implied syllabus. Then you can expect questions on species. Questions on species. Species based questions. Basically, UPSC here normally ask questions that could be related to the characteristics of the species. Under characteristics, questions can be asked related to their habitat, where are they found. They can be asked related to their feeding characteristic, what they like to eat, where they are actually found in a certain habitat. Like you must have heard, sometimes animals are called arboreals. Arboreals basically means those organisms that live on trees. Sometimes organisms are called crepuscular. Crepuscular means organisms that are active during morning and evening, dawn and dusk. So these are all the characteristics of various species. Then questions can be asked related to their conservation initiative, their status in the sense that are they threatened, are they endangered, critically endangered, what is their status internationally or nationally, right? So species based questions can be asked. This is another area theme from where UPSC asks questions. Then the third theme from where you can expect questions, it is the theme of locations. Locations of various national parks, wildlife sanctuaries. You must have heard. You must have heard of other important locations like Ramsar sites have caught up a lot of attention of late. Which these are basically very popular sites in India, right? Ramsar sites. So various types of locations are there. Biosphere reserves. All these are locations, right? So this is one area which can also overlap with geography, but of course the questions can be sometime overlapping with geography and environment. There could be 2 or 3 statements written. One statement may be related to geography, another statement could be related to environment. So you can expect that kind of overlapping. Then the fourth theme is the initiatives. First we'll talk about the Indian initiatives. Guys, just to surprise you here, you'll be surprised to know that there are approximately 17 laws, or I should say acts of parliament, that have been already passed by the Indian Parliament, which are directly or indirectly related to environment. All of you must have heard of Wildlife Protection Act. All of you, I believe, must have heard of the recently discussed Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023. Right? Many of you must have heard of CAMPA, Compensatory Afforestation Management and Planning Authority Act. Many of you must have heard of Forest Rights Act. Right? All these are various Indian initiatives. These are just the acts and laws that has been formulated and introduced by Government of India in order to protect our environment. But apart from this, we have heard of so many other initiatives that keeps coming up. There are initiatives for cleaning up the air. You must have heard of National Clean Air Program. There are initiatives to protect the natural biodiversity of the country. Like you must have heard this year, there was a question, National Gokul Mission, which is typically meant to protect the indigenous varieties of cows in India. You must have heard of various other initiatives like Project Tiger, Project Elephant, right? All these are Vulture Action Plan. All of these are nothing but Indian initiatives. And it's not just related to species. We have taken initiatives in India also in the domain of climate change, National Action Plan on Climate Change. All these are basically missions. All these are initiatives that are part of this particular theme. So whatever initiatives that has been taken up by the Government of India, or even sometimes by state governments, if it has been acknowledged internationally, even state government initiatives could also be very important, right? Like you must have heard of Great Indian Bustard. The Great Indian Bustard is a popularly found bird. It's an endemic variety of bird found in the state of Rajasthan, but also found in some areas of Gujarat and also in Maharashtra, by the way, right? So, but now its population has declined so much that it has mostly been limited only in the state of Rajasthan. It is found in the Desert National Park of India. So when you notice all the initiatives to protect the Great Indian Bustard, you will find most of the initiatives are taken by the state of Rajasthan. When you talk about the rhinos, although we have rhinos not only in Assam but also in Uttar Pradesh. Remember, Dudhwa National Park has almost 45 rhinos. We have rhinos not only in Assam, in other states as well, but majority of the rhinos are found only in Assam, and you will see majority of the initiatives are also taken by the Assamese government. So you will notice that all kinds of Indian initiatives are important. And then the last theme from where questions can be asked, these are the international initiatives. When I talk about international initiatives, they are not just limited to the international conventions. They could be taken up, initiatives that can be taken up by World Bank. Initiatives that can be, like this year it happened, can be taken by Asian Development Bank, ADB. Initiatives by Asian Development Bank, right? I hope all of you are able to get it, right? Initiatives from United Nations Environment Program. There are many other initiatives that has been taken up, right? And initiatives from other organizations as well. There are a lot of multilateral or multi-regional organizations which have also taken certain initiatives, right? There are initiatives taken up by African Union. They are not only Indian, they are not at all Indian initiatives, but they are still very relevant. UPSC have asked questions. So international initiatives. So these are the 5 themes where you will find questions on environment. I hope all of you understand. And these 5 themes, if you have understood these 5 themes, you know what actually needs to be studied to qualify the civil services exams. These are the 5 themes that mostly are asked. So this is typically the difference between the syllabus that has been prescribed by UPSC and the syllabus that we have implied for over the years, over these 10-12 years. And mind my words, guys, a lot of people have been saying that this year the question paper has been different. It has been a little different for some subjects, but when it comes to environment, it is still within the 5 themes. It has not gone beyond the 5 themes. I hope all of you are able to understand. This is what we have under the syllabus, the implied syllabus. And guys, what is better to learn about the implied syllabus? Let us see the questions of this year's prelims itself. Of course, I'm not able to take all the 16 questions here, but yes, I've taken enough questions which will give you a good idea what sort of questions are asked and how we are supposed to tackle them, and also it will give you a good idea that they are still part of these 5 themes. So let us see the first question. Like I already mentioned, that initiatives from World Bank. So this question is, the World Bank warned that India could become one of the first places where wet bulb temperature routinely exceeds 35 degrees Celsius. Wet bulb temperature routinely exceeds 35 degrees Celsius. Which of the following statements best reflects the implication of the above said report? So guys, before I talk about the report itself, let me first quickly talk about what exactly do we understand by wet bulb temperature. Now guys, technically, like the name itself says, wet bulb temperature. So if it says wet bulb specifically, that means there has to be something called dry bulb temperature as well, right? So what is the difference between dry and wet bulb temperature? It's a very simple concept of science, and if I try to explain this, it can be understood in a very simple way also. Guys, when I talk about temperature, temperature is basically whatever is the degree of heat that we can measure in the surroundings, or measure for a person, measure for a body, all these things. That's called temperature. So if I take the simple thermometer, unfortunately I do not have a thermometer here, so I cannot demonstrate that. But if I take a simple thermometer and take the normal temperature of a certain body, take the normal temperature of the air, take the normal temperature of the surroundings, that will be called the dry bulb temperature. That will be simply called the dry bulb temperature, right? Dry bulb temperature, that is the normal temperature. But what is the difference between dry bulb and wet bulb? So the name itself is sufficient enough to see the difference. Like, have you ever noticed that if when you are sweating a lot, or suppose if you have poured a mug of cold water on yourself, and you are still wearing clothes, and you pour a mug of cold water, what will happen? Your entire clothes will get soaked in water, you will get drenched in water, right? But the moment when you walk in this completely soaked form and you walk under a fan, you stand under a fan, what happens? The air of the fan, the air that is forcing on your skin, it starts vaporizing all this water. The water gets vaporized, your clothes, they start getting dry. But in the process of getting dry, have you noticed that we start feeling cooler? We start feeling cooler and cooler. We all have noticed this, right? So what is happening is, because of the air that is being pushed at me from the fan, the surrounding air, it is now heating up. The surrounding air is now basically, absorbing all this water from my clothes, and the air is getting, moist, and my body heat is lowering down, because the water, as it is getting vaporized, it is also accumulating all my body heat. So I start feeling cooler. All of you understand this happens, right? Sometime you must have noticed in this extreme heat wave, sometime people, they simply dip a cotton cloth in water and take that soaked cloth and wrap around their skull, wrap around their head. It becomes very necessary in extreme heat wave conditions. What is happening, guys? As this particular cloth starts to dry up, it will leave a cooling impact. It will leave a cooling impression in our head, and we'll start feeling comfortable. So guys, what exactly is the wet bulb and the dry bulb temperature? The dry bulb temperature is the normal temperature, and wet bulb temperature, it is the temperature that a body can be cooled. It is the lowest temperature that the body can be cooled by evaporating all the water, by evaporating all the water in a wet bulb. So basically the idea is, if I take a cotton cloth and keep it in the air, let me just explain like this. So if I take a normal thermometer and take the normal temperature of the air, I get the dry bulb temperature. But if I take the same thermometer and let's suppose I wrap it with a wet cotton cloth, as the cotton cloth will start drying, As the cotton cloth will start drying up, losing all its water, the air around the wet bulb will absorb all this water, leaving the cooling effect of this temperature. So you will see that the temperature of the wet bulb will start lowering down as the cloth starts drying up. So as the cloth dries, the temperature starts falling. I hope all of you guys are able to visualize. So it is the same thing that happens when you are completely soaked in sweat and you go stand under the fan, your body starts cooling down. Basically what is happening, your wet cloth, it is getting drying, it gets dry up and the air around you starts absorbing all this moisture, leaving the cooling effect on your body. The same thing is happening in the wet bulb. So of course, as the wet bulb is going to dry up, causing a cooling effect, the temperature in the thermometer will start lowering down. So basically the difference is the dry bulb temperature is usually the higher temperature, the normal temperature, and the wet bulb temperature, like I said, it is the temperature that it is the lowest temperature that can be achieved by cooling down of the by the air which can absorb all the moisture from the cooling effect of a wet bulb. So the dry bulb temperature is usually higher, wet bulb temperature is usually lower. And what is the idea? If the wet bulb temperature remains low, it means as the water gets vaporized, the bodies are likely to cool down to a much lower temperature. So usually if the wet bulb temperature remains around 20-25, if it remains around 14-15, 20 degrees Celsius, it is a very comfortable temperature for the human body, because as the body cools down, it can be expected to cool down to a temperature of 14, 15, 20 degrees, which is a very comfortable temperature. But what World Bank report have said, by the way, let me tell you the name of the report also. Let me see if any questions are there. All right, let me tell you the name of the report also. So World Bank in its report called Climate Investment Opportunities in India, in India's cooling sector. So it's called the Climate Investment Opportunities in India's cooling sector. This is the name of the report of World Bank, and in this report they have mentioned that in India during the extreme summers the wet bulb temperature can exceed 35 degrees Celsius. Now guys, according to almost every scientific organization, a wet bulb temperature of 35 degrees Celsius is considered to be extremely bad for the, not just for the humans, but also for probably every organism, even for plants. So let me just quickly talk about what exactly this means. So you understood that wet bulb is the lowest temperature that can be attained. So if the wet bulb temperature increases, that means now if the body tries to cool down, the temperature of the body will still remain high. I hope you understand. So if the wet bulb temperature is high, because it was the lowest temperature that was possible to attain, but if this temperature itself starts increasing, that means now the body will not be cooling down enough. It will not be cooling down to the required levels which is comfortable for the human body. That means if you have a wet bulb temperature of 35 degrees Celsius or more, you may pour a lot of water on yourself. The water may also get vaporized. It will take a longer time to vaporize first, but it may get vaporized, but still your body temperature is not going to be cooling down. That means this becomes the worst possible condition in the garb of climate change. So this is what is likely to happen in India. And guys, the areas that are often subjected to heat wave, they are more vulnerable to this increase in wet bulb temperature. Now, if just to add a little bit of information, this wet bulb temperature is normally further aggravated. It is further worsened. It gets further increased due to high humidity. And you must have noticed, guys, there was in fact an article recently in the Economic Times that Delhi had a temperature of around 41-42 degrees Celsius, but the feels like temperature, you must have noticed whenever you search for temperature on your mobile phone, it tells you what is the actual temperature, but what is the temperature that you feel like. Feels like means how a body would feel in that particular temperature range. What is the impact of that temperature on the human body? So humidity causes a lot of increase and it changes the overall feel like. So if the wet bulb temperature touches 35 degrees Celsius, the feels like temperature is going to be way higher than 50. And just imagine what would be the impact on the human body with that temperature. And it's not only harmful for the human body, by the way, almost every animal is likely to struggle. For plants, it is still debatable, although many people consider that plants may still be able to have some possibility of survival, but still even a lot of plants, especially the tropical region, they would also be facing a lot of problems. So let's see what is the point here. We'll talk further about it when we actually start the classes. We'll have long-term discussions on these issues. So first point, it says Peninsular India will mostly likely suffer from flooding, tropical cyclones and droughts. Peninsular India, it talks about Peninsular India, not the northern India. So Peninsular India is mostly likely to suffer from floods. We can expect that floods can happen. Tropical cyclones already we are facing, but droughts is something which is less likely to happen. This is going to be more likely to happen in areas of North India, not in the Peninsular India, right? If I follow this report itself, the survival of animals, including humans, will be affected as shedding of their body heat through perspiration becomes difficult. This is what I just now mentioned, that if the wet bulb temperature increases, the impact on the human body will be so high, not just humans but also on other animals, and that means this statement seems to be correct. I'm going a little quick so that we do not miss out on other questions as well. The answer to this question should be second option only, right? B. If I go to the next question, which has been asked in this year's prelims again, see, look at this. The previous topic was asked from the issues part, right? It has asked from the issues part and also from the international initiative part, the report that has been published by World Bank. Second is regarding peacock tarantula. This is basically a kind of a spider. So this is basically talking about the peacock spider, right? So if I may show you, this is how the peacock spider appears, right? You can see. So it does not look like a peacock, but because the color resemblance happens with the neck of the peacock, so that's why the name peacock spider, right? Now, what are the following points? So this is related to the species part, species theme of the syllabus. So it is related to the species theme. Okay. So it is still within the pattern that we have predicted. It is an omnivorous crustacean. Omnivorous means organisms that feed on both plants and animals. By the way, spiders or peacock spiders in general are not omnivores, they are carnivores. Spiders, they mostly feed on insects, right, or other organisms. So they are carnivores, they are not omnivores. So of course this is incorrect, and in fact it is not even a crustacean. Crustaceans are basically if I tell you, this is something that I often talk about in biology. So if I talk about the various types of organisms, there is a type of organism called arthropods. Arthropods are basically those animals which have got jointed legs. They have got joints, right? They have got joints, jointed legs, and some other body differentiation is there. So there are different types of arthropods. Insects are part of it, spiders are part of it, crabs, prawns, lobsters, they're also part of it. So when you talk about arthropods, there are different types of arthropods. Crustaceans are basically arthropods which are like crab, lobster. These are called crustaceans. When you talk about spiders, spiders comes under arachnids, right? They come under arachnids, right? So arachnids, sorry, they come under arachnids, and the peacock spider. The peacock spider or spiders comes under arachnids, and they are also type of arthropod. They also have jointed legs, legs and limbs, and arachnids, but they are slightly different. In terms of their body differentiation, they are different. In terms of their numbers of legs, they are different, right? So they normally have 4 legs to walk, but they also have other legs for turning and such, right? So we have such features under arachnids. So spiders are not crustaceans. So even if they would have written carnivorous crustacean, that would have still remained an incorrect statement. Spiders are not crustacean, they are arachnids, right? Technically, this is where we are overlapping between ecology and science, right? Its natural habitat in India is only limited to some forest area. This is actually correct, guys, because it is found in the Eastern Ghats. It is found in the state of Andhra Pradesh, in the Eastern Ghats of Andhra Pradesh, right? So it is found in that particular area of the country. So it is, yes, limited only to a certain forest. By the way, guys, remember that there is another type of peacock spider that is found in South America, but because the statement talks about in India is only limited to some forest area, that's absolutely correct. In its natural habitat, it is an arboreal species. Now, like I believe I've already told you about this, arboreals are those organisms that live on trees. Tree-dwelling organisms are called arboreals. So, yes, if you have noticed, spiders in general, they are not the ones that crawl, that they are not the ones that make burrows and live in on ground. They mostly live on trees. So yes, this statement also seems to be correct. They mostly live in the tree holes and such. So it is an arboreal animal. So if I talk about what all options are correct here, it seems point number 2 and 3 seems to be absolutely correct. The answer should be D, 2 and 3, right? This is the answer for the second question that was asked in this year's prelims. Then guys, going on further, so you can see that one question came from the international initiative issue based and the other one came from the species. Now another question guys, which of the following launched the Nature Solution Finance Hub for Asia and the Pacific? So guys, this is a straightforward question that has been asked from current affairs, but unfortunately this is not the current affair of 2024 or 2025. It was actually an initiative launched in 2023 by the Asian Development Bank. The Asian Development Bank launched this particular initiative, and it was simply based on an idea. It was simply based on an idea for mobilizing funds for finding nature-based solutions. Nature-based solutions, we call it NBS, nature-based solutions, especially in the Asian and Pacific countries. So nature-based solution means that we are finding the solutions for the ongoing problems of the environment, which are directly rooted in nature, or which are derived from nature itself, like afforestation. Wherever there is a depletion of the mangrove or depletion of the coastal areas, we start growing mangroves in those areas to prevent any kind of coastal degradation, right? So this is what nature-based solutions are. So Asian Development Bank has introduced this. Now this is related to simple factual current affairs, but not current affairs of 2025. I believe you understand, right? And this is again related to international initiatives. Then guys, the next question is with reference to direct air capture, an emerging technology, which of the following statements is or are correct? So what is direct air capture guys? Let me just, if I put it very quickly, we all know that global warming is real. Global warming is happening around us. One of the major reasons for this global warming is the increased carbon content, increased carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. So when we see that there is a higher carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere, one way of mitigating this global warming is capturing carbon directly from the air. So we normally have two types of carbon capturing: point source capture and direct air capture. I'll stick myself to the direct air capture only. Direct air capture means that the carbon is being emitted from so many locations, but direct air capture means we are capturing it from air from anywhere. So suppose if I simply plant a tree and put it here in the classroom, so whatever carbon dioxide is going to be there around in this room is likely to be getting absorbed into this tree. So this tree becomes a source of direct air capture from the surroundings. It directly captures the carbon from the surroundings. So that is called DAC, direct air capture, right? Just give me a moment. I hope I am clearly audible to everyone, guys. Is there any background noise that you're getting? Because I had just got a call regarding some background noises. Please let me know if any one of you is having any problems here. I'm checking the chat simultaneously. If any one of you is having any problem, let me know, guys. Any issue with the audio quality, guys? Please let me know. Okay, Nachiket has mentioned. All right, no issue with the audio quality. All right, Nachiket, you have mentioned that there seems to be some background noise. No noise. All right. All right. Okay. So it seems, Nachiket, you please check your internet. There might be some issue there, or you please check your audio jack. There might be some issue related to some audio. Okay, no issues as of now. All right. Perfect. Perfect. So I'll continue, guys, here. Okay. So I'm constantly looking at. Actually, I did not look at your chat. How many classes for the whole module will wrap up? All right. Just wait for it, guys. I'll answer all these questions. I'm about to finish this entire discussion here, and then I'll take up all these questions, right? Viral, you have also mentioned that there are some background noises. Okay, so please check Viral, because other students have mentioned that there is no noise. So Viral, you please check if you have any background noise otherwise, right? Okay, all right. So just hang on to it, guys. I'll be taking up the questions right after this. Okay, so now, so I hope all of you, so when I talk about direct air capture again, so direct air capture basically means that I'm capturing all the excess carbon from the air, directly from the air. So that basically means direct air capture. Now the question that was asked is related to some, again it is within the themes of the issues, and it is also within the themes of the initiatives, right? These are the various initiatives. One of the initiatives is direct air capture for capturing the extra carbon. So it can be used as a way of carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration means capturing the carbon and either, depositing it, putting it back into the earth from where it came from, or using it in such a way where it cannot cause the same harm again, right? This is called the simple idea of. Now it is fine. All right, perfect. So this is the simple idea of carbon sequestration. So carbon sequestration means capturing the excessive carbon and then putting it back into the earth, right? We call it carbon sequestration, or sometimes carbon sequestration also means that capturing the carbon and converting into some other form which can be used, which can be put to use by humans or by other areas, other sectors. Then second point says it can be a valuable approach for plastic production and in food processing. In fact, guys, this is true. See, what is carbon capturing? So when we are capturing carbon from the air, we all know that carbon is one element that is found in so many other substances of our daily utilities. There are so many areas where we have daily utilization in our life, like say for example plastic. Plastic is nothing but a polymer. It is nothing but a long chain of carbon, nitrogen and other additives, right? Sometimes carbon and chlorine, sometimes carbon and nitrogen. So plastic production can actually be supplemented by the carbon that we capture directly from air. So just imagine, instead of releasing new carbon into the atmosphere, we are already capturing the already produced carbon and converting it into a form of plastic, which will not cause any further release of new carbon, right? We call it carbon utilization, by the way, right? So this is plastic production. That's absolutely correct. And then can it be used in food processing? Fascinatingly, guys, you can actually convert the captured carbon into aerated drinks. When you talk about all these aerated drinks like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, what are these? These are nothing but carbonated drinks. You are actually adding carbon in the form of in the form of carbonic acid, not hydrochloric acid, I'm sorry. It is in the form of carbonic acid, H2CO3, and this carbonic acid is basically could be the carbon captured directly from the air. And that's how you get the carbonic acid based, carbonic acid based aerated drinks, carbonated drinks. In the aviation industry, can it be used as a source for combining hydrogen and produce synthetic low carbon fuel? Exactly, guys. This is also possible. You can actually use the captured carbon. You can actually use the captured carbon and mix it with hydrogen and make methane. Make methane, guys. But methane containing hydrogen, but mixed with the carbon that has been captured. We often call this kind of fuel as electrofuel or e-fuel. And guys, this is in fact better than hydrogen. You know why? Because when methane burns, it produces carbon and hydrogen, carbon and water both. But methane is somewhat easy to store compared to hydrogen. Hydrogen needs to be stored at a very high pressure. Methane does not require that kind of pressure. So it is in fact going to be much more practical to convert pure hydrogen into electric methane or e-fuel methane, where we can actually use the carbon captured from the air, convert it into methane and use it as a fuel for further utilization. And then again, that carbon once released, we can capture that further and produce more methane. So this becomes a way of using hydrogen and also limiting our carbon emissions. So yes, when it comes to direct air capture, I believe all three statements seems to be perfectly correct. The answer should be C, 1, 2 and 3. And guys, let me just go quickly. So this was the third question. Now comes the next question. This was again a very simple question, I believe. I don't think UPSC students who have appeared for this year's prelims should have found it difficult. Like for example, consider the following statements: cigarette butts, eyeglass lenses, car tires. Which of them contain plastic? Now guys, whenever I used to take the class, I often used to tell students that now there is literally no place left on earth where there is no plastic. We have found plastic at the bottom of the sea. We have found plastic even in the human blood. In fact, plastic has been found in the mother's milk as well. So is there any place left without plastic? No. So commonsensically, you could have answered that in this way also. But because it's typically asked for cigarette butts, eyeglass lenses and car tires, let's talk about these three. So when it comes to cigarette butts, there is actually a chemical called cellulose acetate. There is a chemical called cellulose acetate, which basically is produced. It's basically a polymer that is found made from plastic. Cellulose acetate. So cigarette butts of course contains plastic. When I talk about eyeglass lenses, you all may be knowing that eyeglasses, the eyeglass that we have these days, they are not actually glass. They're actually plastic only. They could be fiber reinforced plastic, right? FRP. They could be made up of polycarbonate plastics, or they could be simply made up of fiberglass, which is reinforced with plastic. So eyeglass lenses, they all have plastic without a doubt. And when you talk about car tires, you must have heard car tires, they often come up with this thing called nylon thread, polyester thread, right? What are these? Actually, tires are typically made up of rubbers, but rubber is not the only substance that is used for making tires. You actually have a lot of nylon, a lot of polyester, and sometimes some other complex plastics are used, which makes the tire more durable, right? So that's basically the idea. So the answer is very simple, very factual. I believe the answer should be C. All the three should be the answer when it comes to this question. So you can see that this is the one that comes from pollution, plastic pollution, right? Another question coming from the same themes that we have talked about, right? And then guys, next is, so these are the questions. I've taken almost 5 questions here, and all these 5 questions, you can see they were rooted from different themes that we have talked about earlier in the class. Now, let us see the next part of the discussion, why this course is right for you. What is the reason why this is the right course to join? Probably the most important thing in today's orientation. So guys, there's nothing exaggerated here. There's nothing very overwhelming here. I'm just sharing clear facts. When you talk about PMF IAS has already made a reputation of a very honest, of a very simplified and straightforward content delivery. They have made a reputation of a very reliable, authentic source on possibly every subject. For environment, typically it has gained a reputation of the most trusted study material in India when you want to clear not just civil services but any competitive exam. So here I'm giving you a live proof of what all things were covered completely from the PMF IAS study materials of various types, and what were things that were partly covered. So look at this guys, look at the numbers. Out of the 100 questions, people are saying that the question paper was difficult this year. But when you look at the study material of PMF IAS and compare with the question paper, you will find 53 questions guys, which are completely covered, directly sourced from the PMF IAS material. And these are the numbers also that they have given, and from set D. And you can also have the access to the various files, the various resource where it has been claimed in various magazines, various test papers, various other sources from where PMF IAS has talked about it. Completely covered. That means you can actually find all the hints, all the entire information required to solve 53 questions. Guys, the cutoff last year, it did not even cross 90. If 53 questions can be sourced from one study material, what could be better than that? I hope you understand you don't have to rely on multiple sources. Just rely on one source and you master that source with your heart and soul. You have the guarantee of qualifying. And just imagine combining the power of the PMF study material with the expertise of all the teachers involved here in the foundation course, your chances of qualifying civil service exams are far higher than ever. Partially covered, 27 are partially covered. And the ones which are not covered, this is the kind of honesty, not covered are 20. That means 80 questions were there which one could have answered just with the study material here. And guys, I'm not bragging at all. I'm not bragging any further. Look at this. These are the various sources from where they were covered. From all PMF sources that PMF provides, the test series, the various current affairs, the prelims Magnum course. Magnum course was the course from where we have talked about, we have discussed the last moment preparations. Infographics, the various history, art and culture and geography, these are the various modules. So if I just consider the top 4 sources, you can see 32 questions came from the test series itself. Current affair 25 questions, 12 questions came from the Magnum, and the various infographics, they contributed almost 9. So one can easily understand, you don't have to look for multiple sources. This is one destination covering all aspects of qualifying the civil service exams. You don't have to look any further from here. Now, why this course is right for you? This is basically going to help me teach you why and how I'm going to cover. So when you talk about the right approach for qualifying civil services, what I think is the right approach is basically first to emphasize on building your core subjects, first to emphasize on building knowledge, and then use that knowledge in processing with the help of personal mentorship. If you have the right mentors in your at disposal, then you can go and talk to them, see if your knowledge is being channelized in the right direction or not. You can do a lot of practice with all the test series available, with all the other modules available, with all the daily writing practices, daily mains based questions, and also the daily prelims based questions alongside with the test series. You do at most revision as you can. Remember guys, revision is the key. If you can revise everything, I'm sorry to say, but the number is that I always tell to the students is almost 15. If you can revise everything at least 15 times, then you have the kind of confidence, then you have the kind of guarantee in your mind that yes, you will not be confused while answering questions, while attempting questions. And lastly, knowledge retention. This is a very important thing. By revision, by multiple revisions only, you can expect that you are able to retain everything that you have learned. So I suggest all the students to follow this dual approach. First, work as hard as possible in your classroom teaching. Learn everything that the teacher is delivering. Build your core strength, build your foundation strength. Excuse me. Build your foundation strength, build strength of your core areas. Then develop a clarity in the conceptual static part, because this is one part that is going to be an important part of the foundation, so that you can really understand what is happening around us, all the current affairs, everything could be understood. And lastly, current affairs, right? So these are the things that helps building your knowledge. And once you have the knowledge built, then you have to simply channelize it so that your chance of qualifying is put to the maximum. And lastly, guys, what to expect from this course? What to expect, guys? So when I'm talking about environment, I'm Akshay Vrat. We are launching this course. Although I made a previous commitment that I'm going to start the course on 5th, but unfortunately, guys, we have got a lot of calls from various students who are appearing for this year's prelims, who have appeared in this year's prelims. They wanted to join this course as well, and they have requested us to delay this course until the prelims result is out. So unfortunately, I'm not able to launch this course. I'm not able to start the lectures directly, but mind my words, guys, just for your help, just for your better understanding, I'm going to make a sample video. Tomorrow it's going to be uploaded in the morning, and I'm going to put that sample video that will give you an idea that how I'm going to cover the things, what is going to be my scheme of lectures, how I'm going to cover all the things here, and it will give you a better idea that how we are going to complete the subject of environment, right? So when it comes to the course, what you guys are going to get, you will get the live and recorded lectures, right? The recording would be given to you for ample time, so that if you are reappearing also, you will have the recording with you. The classes would be conducted in English medium, guys. Unfortunately, the classes are only going to be conducted in the English medium. It is beneficial for those who are appearing in the English medium. Even if you are a student who do not have a good command in English, but is going to apply in English medium, you should still join this, because you can obviously ask questions. Mind my words, guys, I am a kind of person, I am a kind of teacher who appreciates interaction in the class. The more you ask questions, the better I would be in a position to explain the things. I honestly believe on this fact that a teacher is as good as the students. अगर आप ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सवाल पूछेंगे, if you ask maximum questions, the more questions you ask, the more grilling you do to the teacher, the better the teacher is able to deliver. So mind my words, I like the class to be interactive. I want students to interact with me as much as possible. Use any possible medium. You will have my phone number as well. You can talk to me. You can send me WhatsApp text. You can also, share answers. There would be a one-to-one mentorship given to each and every student who joins. Each and every student, guys. I'm going to provide all the mentorship that is required for my subject. There are subject experts in every other areas. They will help you with all the subjects that are required, all the mentorship that you need, right? So one-to-one mentorship you will get, and on top of that, you will get the most trusted, the most reliable material of PMF IAS in PDF format. These are the things that you're going to expect, that you can expect from the course. And guys, when it comes to mentorship, remember, it is not just limited to the classes. There would be a lot of content that is often being provided on various Telegram platforms of PMF website. You can go on to look at various sources from where PMF is contributing, and you can simply get all the access in just one go. And then, guys, it is not just me who is offering this. The foundation course, PMF is offering foundation course for polity as well. Also, Naved sir is going to take the polity foundation course. He is also expected to start from 20th of June, and he is also going to provide all the services, not just for the environment and environment ecology. Every subject that PMF is offering, they're going to offer all the best guidance possible. Soumitra Chaudhary sir is going to take geography. He's also going to start from the same date of 20th of June. Everything that I'm going to commit, every other faculty is providing. In fact, they could be providing better than me, if not less, better than me, guys. Then Dr. Vishwajit is going to cover history. He is already a very popular faculty among students, and Vishwa sir is going to be covering history, but his subject is going to start once we finish the first 3 modules. One more advantage why you can think of joining this course is we are going to start with 3 subjects, and we will likely be finishing these 3 subjects by the end of July or in early August. And by the time we finish our subject, we'll have enough time for revision. At least 3-4 days you will have for revising the classes. You can interact with the faculties, and only then you will get to start with the other 3 subjects. That includes the subject of history by Vishwajit sir. Then Jatin sir is going to take economy. Jatin sir is going to again start in the second shift, I would say, right, in the second week of August, and he's going to cover economy from the nitty-gritty to the from the basics to the nitty-gritty of the subject, and he also going to provide the same things, and you will have enough time so that you can simply transition from these 3 subjects to the other 3 important subjects of history, geography, and I'm also going to come back with science and technology. So these are going to be the 6 modules that are being covered in the foundation course. And guys, mind my words, although you can see 6 modules here, but remember, these 6 modules cover a foundation, they cover the entire foundation course and covers nearly 70% of the entire syllabus for UPSC. For subjects which are not covered in these 6 modules, there are other subject experts which are going to come up, and they are going to deliver those areas. So when it comes to the subject of these 6 modules, these are the 6 modules that you will have. And if you want to join my course, then my course is, like I said, will have the first class, although the sample video will be available to you, but the formal class will start from 20th, and this is the course fees that you can think of joining. But guys, more the merrier. If you join more modules, you will be at benefit. How are you going to be benefited? See, by taking one or the other modules, like my module cost you around 6,000 rupees. Other teachers also have their own modules. They will also be costing. But if you think of joining the full-fledged foundation course, the entire course, the entire service of PMF IAS, if you want to avail, you can have all these things. The overall value of the total comes out to be somewhere around 40,000 rupees. But if you join the entire course of the entire module, not just including these 6 core subjects, but also including ethics, also including essays, also including the ancillary subjects of disaster management, internal security, Indian society, social justice, all these subjects, the entire syllabus of UPSC, it is being offered by PMF IAS at a price of 19,999. This is what you have access of the best study material available in the market, best study material available in the country, along with the entire foundation classes that are being offered by subject experts. You have the entire available offer with you. You can call up this number and ask for any assistance from the administration. Mind my words, guys, those students who have already joined, suppose if there are students who have already joined my module or they have joined module of other teachers, don't worry about the money that you have spent. If you wish to join any other module, if you wish to switch to the foundation course, you have the full liberty to do. You do not have to pay extra. All the payments that you made, it can easily be adjusted, it can easily be easily be calculated and given to you with the best price possible. There is complete flexibility with PMF IAS. You don't have to simply rely on different institutions. You can rely on one institution for the entire course, or you also have the liberty of choosing one or the other module. You choose more modules, the more discount you have. I hope all of you understand. This is basically the simple idea, the simple concept, the simple linear unorthodox concept that PMF IAS has launched. The entire liberty is with the student, what they want to join. I hope all of you guys have been able to understand. And with this, it completes. One more interesting fact, guys. If you join the PMF IAS Foundation course, the entire test series, I can see some of the students writing about the test series here. The entire test series of PMF IAS is going to be offered free of cost to all the foundation course students who join the entire foundation course. Remember, they are going to be, this year they had 32 direct hits just from the test series, guys. 32 direct questions came just from the test series, and this will have a total of 54 GS test and 54 tests of general studies and 6 tests of CSAT. All these 60 tests are going to be offered free of cost for the students who join the entire foundation course. So what is there to look any further, guys? There is no better destination than PMF IAS already in terms of content. Now they are coming up with a full-fledged lecture series, which is going to be the best in the country. I hope all of you understand. And now I'll take the questions that you guys have asked. So let me just look at a lot of questions have been put here. So about the notes and study material, I think I've already answered about the notes. The notes and study material will be offered to every student who join the course. If you wish to join the module courses, you'll get the notes and access to all the study material for that specific module. And if you wish to join the entire foundation course, you have access for all the study material. But mind my words, guys, the test series is being offered to the students who join the foundation course free of cost, right? Yes, of course. Will I get access to recorded lectures throughout? You will have the recorded lectures till Mains 2026. So Mains 2026 is the time when till that time you'll have the recorded lecture. So it will be ample time for you to easily have a look at these lectures for multiple occasions. And if you go practically by this, like Tejas Gawande has asked this question. So Tejas, if you think about how practically we can cover it, just think about it. If you are able to finish the entire main 6 core subjects, let's say by the end of October. So if you are able to finish them by the end of October, and by the time you reach December, you have already covered other test series, you have already gone through so many other areas of practice. Just imagine the kind of confidence you will have even in the month of December. And from the month of December, you only have to keep grilling yourself. You only have to keep revising, keep updating yourself, keep on covering with more current affairs. And if you have any doubt, you can either speak to the mentors directly, or if you think that you know in which class, on which date it was covered, you can simply go and access it. Nothing better than that. I believe this is probably the best way of preparing for civil services. Bilingual batches, Kinshuk, I'm sorry, this time we are launching a batch in English, but we can obviously hope for bilingual batches in future. Anu, you have asked the question, how many classes would be taken in the module? I'm going to take total 60 hours. That would be 30 lectures. One lecture would be for 2 hours. But Anu, let me tell you that this is going to be just a minimum commitment that I'm giving. The classes can obviously go higher than that, but we'll keep enough window so that we are able to finish every subject, every area to the depth that is required in civil service exams. Like I said, there is not even a single module that I'm going to lose. Like if you talk about environment, there are almost 17 laws of environment that are there. I'm going to talk about each and every law, but not in equal depth, but to an extent so that a student preparing for civil services can understand, or he should have the confidence to answer. All right, the complete course, yes. And then, all right, we already have a lot of followers for Vishwa sir. Okay, so I think these are the questions. If any other questions you have, you can please write it. I'm looking at those questions here. Notes and study material I've already answered. All the students will have this notes and study material given. Remember, again, I'm telling you, when it comes to the module, how long the module will go, it will go on at least 60 hours, you can consider. But again, I'm saying this is the minimum. Normally the class goes way higher than that, considering the questions, considering the type of considering the, sometimes I also feel that some topics needs to be dealt in more depth if some current affair events is found related to that, right? So I believe I've answered the questions. These are the only questions. Other questions are mostly repetitive, right? So I believe I've answered the questions here. All right. So guys, this completes my orientation on the subject of environment and ecology. I hope I have answered the questions. If any queries you have, you can simply call to this number. The number is already here, 9211591415. You can call up to this number. It is and ask for any queries, any assistance. My number is also available. If you look for the link of the course on environment and ecology, you can have my number as well, and you can ask me straight away regarding any questions, any queries you have on environment, right? So this completes my discussion, and guys, I believe I think this is the right time to finish. So here I conclude the session for orientation on the subject of environment and ecology. Tomorrow at the same time, Naved sir is going to take the session for polity and governance. I wish to see all of you, and you can ask any questions related to polity to Naved sir, and he'll also explain more about the subject and how to deal with the subject here. Thank you guys. All the best.